Hi, this is Karen with Karen's Cards and More, and today we're going to feature the split negative technique. I really love the effects of using this technique with black and white. I think it makes a card that really stands out. Really not that difficult to do. I'm sure it looks more difficult than it is. So we're going to talk about how we make the split negative. I am embossing my images today. You wouldn't have to. You could use the same technique and just use your ink without embossing. So you could do it either way. I chose to emboss these images. So let me show you the stamp set. This is the Shaded Summer, and I haven't really done a whole lot with the stamp set, so when I decided to do this black and white split negative card, I thought these images were perfect because parts of it were more solid, and I just felt that lended itself to this technique. So this is the set that we're going to use, and it is a cling set, which means it's the rubber. So let's get started. There's several sentiments that are really, I love the greetings on this. We're going to use love you, friend, and some friendships are meant to be. So that's what we're going to use today. The inside of the card is where we have the some friendships are just meant to be, a little bit of decorative stamping, and there you have it. So let's talk about what we need for this card. You're going to need just basic black and basic white. The card base is basic black, and this is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Then you're going to need 2 pieces of the basic white that are 4 by 5 1/4. One's going to be for the outside and one's going to be for the inside. You're going to need 2 pieces that are 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. 2 pieces that are 3 by 4. And then a piece of the basic white that is 3/4 by 2 3/4. Now let me just tell you, for the larger of the 2 rectangles, the 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, I'm using one of each, and I'm going to cut these on the diagonal. And let me show you the card. You can see, I don't know if you can really tell, but the matte underneath the black is white and underneath the white is black. And that's the way I wanted to do it. But if you wanted a solid piece under there, you could do the split negative portion and then mat it totally on black or mat it totally on white. Then you would only need 1 piece. I need 2 because I'm going to cut these on the diagonal and then I'm going to put them together. Okay? So let's get started with our stamping. So I'm going to start with the easy stamping. We're going to stamp our greeting. We're going to stamp our inside piece and our outside piece. For this, I'm just using the black Memento ink. Let's just go ahead and start with the outside greeting. And this is the one that says, love you, friend. And I'm just going to ink this up. And I'm going to just try to center that on this little strip. Make sure I got plenty of black ink. And I'm just going to center this on here. And try to get it straight without getting my head in the camera. Okay. And then let's go ahead and do the inside piece. I'm going to start with the greeting in the middle. Okay, so I'm just going to put this in the middle, try to get this straight. Okay, and then this little sprig, this branch looking thing, I just wanted to make, just put 1 on each side. So I'm going to put 1 to the left And then I'm going to angle one to the right, just kind of framing up my sentiment. Just like that. Okay, and then for the front piece, I wanted to make my own coordinating. There's no designer series paper to match this, so I thought, well, I'll just make my own. So I used this same sprig. I just inked it up, and then I put my first one down. And then I just started building around it, just turning my stamp different directions and putting that down just like that. And I just kept going till I covered the piece as much as I wanted. And you could put as many of these on here or as few of these. It just depends on what kind of look you want. But I just kept going around until I got it covered as much as I wanted to cover it. And I'm just going to do a few more, and then I have one that I already have done so that you don't have to watch me stamp this whole thing. So you get the idea of what I was doing. So I've got one here that's already finished that we're going to use. So we're done with that. Now, we're ready to stamp our focal pieces. I recommend the Stamparatus for this. And the reason I say that is, well, for one, when I show you the black embossing, you'll understand, but this allows you just to keep this in the same spot, and you'll be able to stamp both your pieces in exactly the same place, and that's what you want to do. They're the same size, so we want to stamp it in exactly the same place so that when we diagonal it and put them back together, they will match. Okay, so I am going to start with the black, and I'm just going to put it, I have a mark that I'm using, and I know which mark to use so that when I put the white one in, I can put it in the exact same place. I'm going to use my embossing buddy and just make sure that I get that on there. Okay, and then I'm going to use the Versamark ink, and I'm going to ink this up real good. I'm just going to stamp that down. I'm just going over both of the flowers so I can be sure and get a good image. And then what I like to do is I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing again. I'm just going to put more Versamark on it because I want to make sure that my embossing powder is going to stick. So I'm going to go ahead and press over this again. Just like that. Then I'm going to pull this out. And I'm just going to bring in some scrap paper here to pour my powder on. And I'm using the white embossing powder. I'm just going to sprinkle this on here so I can get good coverage. And I usually go over it twice, especially those big flowers, because I want to make sure that I get them fully covered. Okay, let's set that aside, and I'm ready to put my white powder back in my container. I'm going to go ahead and emboss this piece, and I'm going to speed the video up during this part so you don't have to sit here and watch me do this whole thing. So I will speed up the embossing. Okay, that has our black piece done. Now, for my white piece, I'm going to go ahead and clean my stamp. So now I want to use black embossing powder. Well, when I bought my embossing powders, I could buy them singly. So I hadn't bought black yet. Now, when you buy your embossing powders, there's a basic set that is your white, your black, and your clear. So they come all three together. Well, when I got to looking to make this card, I don't have black embossing powder, but I wanted it for this card. So let me show you the way that my workaround for that. So we're going to do the same process. Make sure I get the right piece. Okay, so you can see that I'm lining it up in the same spot that I had the other one so that my stamping will be in the exact same place. I'm going to put my magnets on. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp with black memento. Remember, I don't have black embossing powder, so I'm going to stamp it with black memento ink. So if you don't have black embossing powder, you can still make this card. If you have the secret, which is clear. I had white and I had clear, but I did not have black. So I've got that inked up, and I'm just going to go over it, give it a little bit of pressure just to make sure I'm getting it stamped down. And I can see that I want more. I want to go back over it, especially the solid parts of the flowers. So I'm just going to ink this back up. And I'm going to go over this again. Again, I'm paying special attention to those flowers to try to get good images. And you can do this part as many times as you need to. You could restamp it 3, 4, however many times you need to get the black the way you want it. I think that's good. I think I'm going to leave it like that. And then you'll need to clean your stamps. So I'm going to go ahead and clean those because I want to get the black off of it. Now, I could have put the embossing powder on it before I did the black, but I didn't do that. So I'm just going to heat set this ink a little bit so that I can use the embossing buddy over top of it. I just want to set that so that my ink doesn't smear when I put this powder over top. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come back with the Versamark ink, and I'm going to ink this up with Versamark, making sure I get the Versamark all over it. And I'm going to stamp right on top of the black. And I'm going to go ahead and add a second layer just to be sure, because I can't tell. When you look at it, you just can't tell that you have it totally covered. So I am going to ink it up again. And I'm going to come back over it, giving special attention to the flowers because that's where the solid parts are. Okay. I'm going to pull this out. And I'm going to come back in with my scrap, and this time I'm going to use the clear. Cover it all, sprinkle it real good. Make sure I got good coverage. And tap off the excess. Okay, let's get this back in the tub. And this powder lasts a really long time, so don't feel like, you know, that you're gonna have to replace this all the time, because it really does last a long time. So now I am going to emboss this clear, and you'll see that it looks the same as if I had black embossing powder. Again, I'm gonna speed up the video through this portion. That's how I achieved that when I didn't have black embossing powder. Okay, so now we're going to work with our two pieces. We have the larger one that's the matte. We have the one that we just embossed. Now, what I did, you could cut these on the diagonal separately and then piece them together, or you could cut them at the same time. I don't know that it would matter, except if you didn't get your pieces in there just right. So I'm going to cut them together. So I'm going to bring in my trimmer, and I have my pieces lined up together, and I'm going to put the top corner in the track and the bottom corner in the track to make sure I'm cutting side to side. And I'm going to start my blade on the piece and go up and then come back down. And you're going to have to apply a little pressure. Remember, you're going through 2 layers of cardstock. Okay, so that's got those. Then I'm going to bring my other 2 pieces in, and I'm going to do the same thing with these. I'm going to put the corners in the track, just like that, and then I'm going to cut them, just like that. Now, if you notice, this piece didn't cut all the way through, so I'm having to just peel it apart a little bit. Let me show you what I do for that. I have a little sanding block, so that left a little bit of a frayed edge or a fuzzy edge. I use this sanding block, and you can just sand that off, and then it looks great. So I'm going to go over this other one just a little bit too. This design is great to go ahead and make 2 at the same time, because you got these pieces that you cut in half. So you're just as well to make 2 cards as you are 1. You could change up the greetings a little bit and have matching cards that say something different. So let me get these laid out. So I've got those, and I've got these, okay? So I'm going to use these 2 together, and then that leaves these 2 together. I'm going to set those aside because I'm not working with those today. So underneath, I want to have a white piece and a black piece. I'm going to go like this, because I want the white to be matted on the black, and then I want the black to be matted on the white, like that. okay? Now what I have found, it's easier to build this on the card or at least on your back mat piece rather than try to hold these together and glue. And I would recommend when you're attaching the triangles that you use the Tombow glue, the liquid glue, because it just gives you a little more time. So we're going to bring in our card. And the first thing I'm going to do, this front mat piece, I can use my Stampin' Seal. So I'm going to go ahead and attach it with Stampin' Seal. And I'm going to just go ahead and put this on here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put the inside piece in. Like that. I'm going to go ahead and fold this. I'm going to come in with my bone folder and just go over that a little bit. Okay, now we're ready to build it. I want to start with my plain pieces. I want to get those started first. Okay. All right. Now this to me was the hardest part, was getting these triangles started and getting them on there straight. That for me was the most challenging part. So I'm going to use my liquid glue. And I'm going to go ahead and put glue on the back of my black triangle. That's my mat piece. And I want to try to put this on here, getting it straight. And I could tell more about it when I put the white piece against it. And that looks pretty straight. So I'm going to go ahead with that. And then I'm going to do the same with the white piece. I'm just going to put some liquid glue. And I'm going to just bring this up against this, making the points meet. And then press that down. Okay, now we're just going to add our embossed pieces. And I'm just dry fitting them to make sure I know about where to place them. It's just a small border that we're going to have around it. Okay. So I'm going to just I'm repeating the same process. I'm just putting the liquid glue on the back of the piece. And then I'm going to place this. Right on there. Now when I put these together, I want to make sure that I'm lining up my image as well. And that's got my flowers lining up. just like that. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. Just put my liquid glue. And then I'm going to put this together. I'm going to get my flowers lined up. Press that down. And then we're ready to put our greeting on. Then what I did is I used dimensionals for my greeting. So I'm just going to be putting 3 dimensionals on the back. And you could decide where you want to put this. You could put it in the middle, you could put it down towards the bottom. You could have moved this up and put this at the bottom, however you want to do it. I'm just going to put it right about there. And I want to show you something. Right here, I have a little bit of glue smudge. If you don't have a glue eraser, I definitely recommend them. It looks like this. It's a little rubber eraser because I can come in with that little smudge of glue and I can use this eraser and it's totally gone. And my piece is not ruined. It looks the same as it did, but I was able to get rid of the glue. So there's the card. Here's the one we started with. That was my sample. And then here's the one we just made together. I hope you enjoyed the split negative technique. I hope you'll give it a try. Try some different colors and see what you come up with that you like. If I wasn't going with the black and white, I could have used a solid matte instead of doing the triangles on the thin mat behind it. I could have used like a cranberry red, might have looked good, or even a silver or gold, maybe a gold. But I wanted to keep it all black and white, so that's why I did it the way I did it. Hope you'll give it a try. If you're new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button and the bell, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Check out my Facebook group, my Facebook page, Karen's Cards and More. And if you'd like to order any of the products you've seen, these are Stampin' Up! Products, the stamp sets, the embossing powders, the cardstock, that's all Stampin' Up! And I'm an independent demonstrator, and you can order the products at my store, karensmith.stampinup.net. And I look forward to crafting again with you soon.